major changes. You see, imagine the 2 years from March 2007 to March 2009 when the Chief Justice of Pakistan was deposed. We decided to have, first we were on strike of the courts every day. Then we said this hurts the litigants, so we have 1 day strike in the country a week. So on Thursdays, there used to be a Tahrir Square in every city of this country. In 200 cities, from 200 bar associations, people and lawyers would march out, followed by political workers, come to the central square of the city and hold a demonstration. There was a Tahrir Square on every Thursday in every city. We are reminded of the Arab Spring, that the Arabs are coming to life again, and there is Arab Spring, and the world is so excited about Arab Spring. They don't realize that the Pakistani nation does not wait for 30 years to oust its dictator. It does not wait for 42 years to oust its Gaddafi or Hosni Mubarak or Hafiz al-Assad. We oust our dictators even if they take off. We start a resistance movement within a couple of years. I spent long time in jail under military dictators, Ziaul Haq and Musharraf. So I am very hopeful. And I am hopeful because although we are Muslims, we are not Arabs. We are South Asians. And with the South Asians, we embrace our democracy and we embrace our judiciary. The Arabs have neither democracy, they are Muslims. Yes, we are Muslims. We are proudly Muslims. But the Arabs neither have democracy, nor do they even have a judiciary, what to talk of an independent judiciary. The people of Pakistan have established that they will resist all enemies of democracy and all enemies of an independent judiciary. And I think I'm very hopeful, and I think you've spoken about, Tariq has spoken about Imran. I think that's good news to the country, a third force emerging. He happens also to be an Aitchisonian. And I think he may be the continuation of the lawyers' movement, and he may be able to carry the dreams that we planted in the eyes of the Pakistani, ke riyasat hogi maa ki jaisi. That is what Imran's challenge is, and I hope he performs. But at the same time, I will remain in the Pakistan People's Party and be very hopeful.
Justice Bandial, as last I was talking about the lawyers' movement, he mentioned the events of 2007, 2009, and also the fact that the slogan was "Riyasat hogi maa ki jaisi." When the judiciary was restored, it came with very high hopes, as did the lawyers' movement, and how the lawyers' movement could bring about the change that last I was talking about. 3 years later, that change has not happened. There is a lot of disappointment. People are questioning whether the lawyers' movement succeeded in what it was trying to do, and more importantly, whether the high expectations of the judiciary have been dashed to the ground. Is that so?
Well, I can only also comment on what we are doing about the situation and what changes that we experience now in comparison to before. You see, the first thing that has happened as a result of the judicial revolution is that more than half of our members of the judiciary have been removed. because they belong to the group of people who had left allegiance to the Constitution of Pakistan. The underlying principle of the lawyers' movement was that the Constitution of Pakistan is inviolable, and for judges to keep changing their loyalties and swearing allegiance to personal edicts and personal laws of a dictator were unacceptable. That is the principle to which we all subscribe, those of us who are in the judiciary today. We are lesser in number today than yesterday. Our sanction strength is much more. Each one of us works about 16 hours every day. But remember, judicial work requires a lot of deliberation. And it does not come, out of the hat. It doesn't spring out of the hat. My personal feeling is that the first test you should apply when you look at the superior judiciary where this change has taken place is, do you hear complaints of any corruption? I think, alhamdulillah, nowhere in Pakistan is there an allegation of corruption. The second thing is that corruption includes bias. So the second thing is that there is no allegation of bias. What is really happened is, because of the increased public confidence in the institution, a lot of people have started coming to the courts for relief. That has increased the burden of our work. We are deciding the pending cases for more than 2 years. No work was done. There was a build-up. We have tried to clear that backlog, and we are still doing that. The disappointment that you speak about may be creeping on account of the delays that are taking place. But I think what you should also keep in mind is, what are the comments about the quality of the decisions and the integrity of the decisions? Insofar as delays are concerned, I promise you, we are all putting in our best, but we want good people to join us, which process is also very, very difficult. So all of us have to be patient, and inshallah we should all cooperate to get this thing done. We'll get over the backlog in a few years. Thank you.
Tariq Said sir, a very basic, simple question which a lot of people ask, and you might be in a very good position to answer that. We're always being told that Pakistan is a poor country. And that we had a dream, the dream that all three of you mentioned, the dream called Pakistan, where if everything had gone right, then every Pakistani child would have been able to get the kind of education that this institution provides. We have failed, and we are not providing every Pakistani child that same opportunity. Lack of funds. Very simple question. Does Pakistan actually not have enough money? Are we actually on the verge of becoming a bankrupt nation?
I think I alluded to this in my opening statement. First of all, 1, 2, 3 simple answers to basic issues. Is Pakistan going bankrupt? No. Pakistan is not going bankrupt. The government of Pakistan is going bankrupt. The government of Pakistan is going bankrupt. Pakistan is not going bankrupt. You see, how I explain this is that paradoxically, I think what is keeping Pakistan afloat is actually the parallel economy. Parallel economy is now, by some estimates, as large, if not larger than the recorded economy. So in fact, when we lament the fact that our tax to GDP ratio is only 9.5%, which is abysmal, It actually could be as low as 4.5 to 5% of GDP, which is why the government is poor, why the state of Pakistan is poor. But the economy of Pakistan is actually not doing too badly. It's a question of actually getting those that escape the net into the tax net and raising our revenues so that the government of Pakistan is not that poor and we can spend on the things that you're talking about, which is the social sectors, education and health. So that's primarily no despondency there. Let's not get worried about Pakistan going under. Pakistan is not going to go under, but things are going to get a lot worse before they improve. I think what we call colloquially the Paya Jam, that Paya Jam we are nearing in the sense that half the fleet of the PIA doesn't operate because they don't have money for fuel or for spare parts. More than half the trains of the Pakistan Railways don't go out. The steel mill is just paying wages but hardly produces at about 20% of its capacity. So, ये किस चीज़ की अलामत है? This is indicative of the fact that the fiscal position of the state of Pakistan is in disarray. It can be repaired, but as I said, in political economy terms, with an election around the corner, or if even not around the corner, maybe in about a year and a quarter, what will the government in power do? Will they try and reflate? Will they go for more note printing, thereby creating more inflation, thereby creating more of a tax on the poor? Or will they say, no, enough is enough, agriculture must pay taxes, lawyers must pay taxes, sorry, don't mind, what they earn, doctors, blah, 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 the service sector, which is 50% of the GDP, agriculture, which is 25% of the GDP. 75% of the GDP pays about 1% of the tax to GDP, which is abysmal. So what is happening is putting all the burden on the formal part of the economy, the large and medium scale industry, banks, financial institutions. All of this is a skewed, what in economic terms is called a skewed fiscal situation. This needs to be corrected, but it needs very, very strong political steps to do it. And they're going to be unpopular because obviously this huge vested interest, particularly from the election point of view, the landowning classes, when you tax them, they are going to resent it. Because taxation from times immemorial has always been considered an imposition by the state. We forget what the state provides us, but when we are asked to pay to keep the state afloat, we always react against it. So there are some tough battles around the corner. So let's not think it's going to be easy for Imran or whoever gets back in. But if these same guys get back in and it's business as usual,
then we have problems.
Then we've got a serious problem, not a problem, serious
problem. Okay, we have a question from the audience.
Can I have your mic? My name is Mohammed Bai. I am the pastor of the French school. I have two questions, one for Joyce or one for Justice Atabulia. I'll start with Joseph. Joseph, you rightly said that the solution to our problems is very strong belief in pluralistic society, and you rightly mentioned that Pakistan is a Muslim state, not an Islamic state. But then I see a dichotomy in the name itself, which says Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Can you dilate on that?
Thank you, Dean. It's a good question, and let me give you an example. I've faced this question several times before. Every time I opine that Barrister Muhammad Ali Jinnah had in his mind a Muslim state and not an Islamic state, meaning thereby he wanted a state which was neutral among choices of religion and creed and distinction, and he said so very clearly. I was making a speech in the National Assembly once, and I expounded on this at a much greater length. It's the theme of my book also, which I referred to, published some years ago. And as I was spelling out and in detailing my argument, the difference between a Muslim state and an Islamic state, and why Pakistan was a Muslim state, and unlike Saudi Arabia and Iran, not an Islamic state, but more like Morocco or Jordan, a Muslim state. Dr. Sher Afghan, who happened to be the law minister at that time and whose life some years later, I saved in Lahore, putting my own at risk. Dr. Sher Afghan got up and he said, on a point of order, he held up the Constitution of Pakistan and he said to the Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sir, point of order. So he got his right, and I interrupted my speech. I sat down and he said, the honorable member is saying that Pakistan is a Muslim state, not an Islamic state. But what about the name of the Constitution? The Constitution is called the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. The Constitution is called the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. And he got his chairs from the treasury benches and sat down, which gave me an opportunity to reply at once. And I said, Mr. Speaker, what we have to see is the contents of the Constitution and not just the name. What is in a name? What is in a name? After all, the worthy law minister is called Sher Afghan. शेर को मारने वाला कुएं से डरता है और शेर अफगान उसका नाम है. So what is in a name? We have to see the substance, sir. And the substance of the Constitution of 1973 is, despite Article 2A, which says Islam shall be the religion of the state, it is modeled on the basis of the constitutional principles that were espoused by Barrister Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Qaid-e-Azam. And therefore, I can say with confidence that it is a constitution which is indeed called the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, but it is a constitution of a Muslim republic and does not really bring in the concepts and entrench the concepts of an Islamic republic, which mean that the Sharia would be the supreme law as applicable and applied by the courts of law. That is not the case in this country.
Justice Bhaiya, sorry, you have
Follow-up question? Well,
I have a question. Let's see if you can answer it. It's a simple and interesting question. And the question is, when we have so many qualified lawyers in the parliament, why do we have so many bad laws?
You know, the problem is not with the laws in this country. The problem is with the enforcement. And under our constitution and our jurisprudence is that laws should apply equally. Unfortunately, there is a deviation from this rule, and invariably you find these matters coming to the courts, and we try to take corrective measures.
So where does the problem start?
The problem starts in the enforcement mechanism which is with the executive. Then of course, remember, in this society, we have encouraged a thinking among certain classes that they are above the law. And there are people who do feel that way, and we often enough we see them on the television saying things which suggest that belief and that thought. The most important thing that the judiciary has to do in this country in the enforcement of the Constitution is to make everyone accountable. And this is a fundamental concept, of our faith also. It all starts with accountability. The moment people start feeling and believing that they are above accountability, that's where the problem starts. And that's where matters and questions of pride and prestige, honor, they come in to divert and subvert the whole process. I think our lawmakers are good. Remember something, our lawmakers have been interrupted thrice by martial law. I attended as a young man, attended the Assembly of 1970, and I heard speeches by the leaders in that assembly. To this day I remember what remarkable politicians we had in the 1970 assembly. Coming from Balochistan, Mr. Bizenja was there. Coming from the frontier, Mr. Mali Khan spoke to Sindh. Where are those people today? We chopped off there. You see, the politician, that greed will grow up, will come up. Mr. Iqzal Asim is one of our leading politicians, and a man of great principles. We need more people like him, people who follow his example, and they will come up. So it's not really the politicians or the parliament or the lawmaking by them, but the enforcement, because their personal interest comes in.
Let me just pose a general question, which I would like all of you to respond. Maybe I can start with Tariq Salim and then jump in, because it's a general question, and I think it is also very relevant for the people who are sitting in the hall. We've had a number of failures over the last 60, 64, 65 years. And it is difficult to pinpoint what went wrong at what time, unless we go into a lot of detail. It is a crisis of leadership, a lot of people agree. And here in the school, we've always been taught the qualities of leadership, whether on the sports field or in the academic halls or in houses, everywhere. And when we come out of an institution like Aitchison, we see that those principles have not been applied when it came to Pakistan. So there has been a crisis, a failure of collective leadership. And that leadership role has been taken by everybody, as you said correctly, politicians, generals, we had feudals and industrialists, everybody. So when these Aitchisonians go out into the real world, they will be faced with the same problem. They will be told there has been a crisis of leadership. Can you simplify, in a very simple language, if possible, because this is a complicated question, explain to us, in your opinion, 1 or 2 points where you feel that the acutest example of crisis of leadership, where did we fail? Just a few pointers.
See, I think my own perception about this is what Mr. Justice Badal talked about. Frankly, these failures that have occurred actually paradoxically then promote the idea that we should go in for a third force or intervention by the GHQ and the army comes in. And what this does is that this puts back the process again for 6 or 8 or 10 years. And then that martial law regime, path gets discredited, and we have returned to politics. Same guys come back that hadn't really done a good job, and one brought the task. I think the genesis of the problem lies in these interruptions. I actually now come to the firm belief that we have to go through this trough. We have to go through this tough period, and I think the real test is going to be in a year's time or whenever the elections take place. Will the people of Pakistan actually decide that they have had enough, and that those that they have put into power have not performed, and they want to change? If they want to bring back the same old faces and the same old roads, then I'm afraid we're in for a rough ride and something drastic could happen. Because what does happen is that when the performance is very bad, the economy doesn't work, the political system is in disarray, law and order breaks down, the economy is doing very badly, inflation is running high, unemployment is high, investment levels are very low, then, frankly, some of us start visiting the Khakis and we say, oh, things are in a mess. You've got to deliver Pakistan. अब आ जाए 6 महीने के लिए आ जाए 9 महीने के लिए आ जाए साफ करके फिर इलेक्शन करा दें.
We make the same mistakes again and again. We don't make new mistakes.
We make the same mistake. I think, to put it very simply, मेरे ख्याल में the way out of this mess and morass is this, that more democracy, unfortunately. Okay. I would like to see, and as I said, the next big test is this coming election. Absolutely. If we don't weed out those that are corrupt or inefficient or who haven't performed, then I think, as Bernard Shaw said, he was asked, he was asked, Mr. Shaw, what is democracy? So he is said to have replied, democracy is an ingenious invention, for it ensures that the people will be governed no better than they deserve.
That's awesome. That's something, and we have a question from a distinguished guest. I'll just come to you, sir.
Well, I think who is to blame or what is went wrong? We blame our generals, we blame our judges, we blame our politicians, we blame our bureaucrats, we blame our police officers, we blame everybody but us, the voter, in the first instance. Secondly, I think the defect is systemic and